This video is for 1.3 part 1, percents and proportions. We have a couple review questions here. Convert the following to percents. So the trick is you can take your decimal, multiply it by 100, and add the percent sign. So when we multiply 0.62 times 100, what we're really doing, one way to think about this is to move the decimal spot 2 times to the right. So 1 time, 2 times, that's going to give us 62, and then add the percent. 4.22, so again, multiply by 100, add the percent sign. So 1 time, 2 times to the right, our decimal will now be after the second 2. 422%. Two-fifths. There's a couple ways to think about this. One trick I like to do is multiply the top and bottom by 2. If you multiply the top and bottom by 2, that will give you 4 over 10, which is going to be 40%. Another option is to put this directly in the calculator. You'll get 0.4 and then multiply by 100. So that might make more sense for number 4, 7 over 8. If you were to divide this out in the calculator, that's going to give you 0.875. Now that we have a decimal, multiply by 100 to make it a percent. So when you multiply by 100, you move the decimal spot 2 times to the right, which will give us 87.5. Add the percent. %20 of 50. Okay, so before we do this, we have 3 options. 3 different ways to think about proportions. We have percent over 100 equals part over whole. Percent over 100 equals is over of. And percent over 100 equals the new value divided by the original value. These are all pretty much saying the same thing, just 3 different ways to think about it. Notice on all 3, the left is percent over 100. When you read this, I read this as 20% of 50 is what number? Since this is what we're trying to find, I'm going to think of this as my variable, my x. So the 20%, since we're dividing by 100, we don't need the percent sign anymore. So it'll be 20 over 100. I'm going to do is over of. My is the x. Of is the 50. So is divided by of, x over 50. When I cross multiply, I like to multiply the variable first. That way it will be on the left. So we have 100 times x. That's going to equal 20 times 50. 20 times 50 is 1,000. So 100x equals 1,000. Divide by 100 to get x by itself. And we will get x equals 10. What this is saying is 20% of 50 is 10, which makes sense. This is 1/5 of 100, 1/5 of 100%, and 10 is 1/5 of 50. %50 of 80 is, again, we're trying to figure this out, so that would be our variable. We have is, we have an of, so we're going to do is over of again. Cross multiply. I like to do the variable first. $50 times 80 . That's going to give us 4,000. Divide by 100. So now when you divide by 100, you're moving the decimal spot 2 times to the left. Multiplying by 100, like we did above, moves it 2 times to the right. Dividing by 100 moves the decimal spot 2 times to the left. So when we do that, we're going to get 40. %50 of 80 equals 40. This makes sense. This is half, so half of 80 is 40. Another is over of. So 52 divided by 100. Again, this is our variable. Cross multiply. 52 times 70 is going to give us 3,640. Divide by 100. So the decimal is currently here after the 0. Move it 2 times to the left because we're dividing by 100. That will give us 36.4. $16 is what percent of 80? So in this case, I am going to use part over whole. The whole amount is 80, and the part is going to be 16. So what percent? That's going to be on top. So what percent is what we're trying to find. That would be our variable. As always, we still put it over 100. Our part is 16. Our whole is 80. Now, I still want x on the left, so I'm going to do x times 80 first. We're multiplying by 100, so we move the 2 decimal places. That'll give us 1,600. Divide by 80. And that should give us 20. To make sure that we know that this is a percent, let's add our percent sign. $32.33 is what percent of 61? I'm thinking that this is another part over whole. 61 is our whole number, and this is part of that number. Again, we're trying to find the percent. That would be our variable. Put it over 100. The part is 32.33. And the whole is 61. Cross multiply. 61 times x equals 100 times 32.33. That's going to give us 3,233. After we multiply by 100, 61x carries down. After we divide by 61, we are going to get 53. Again, this is our percent. So add a percent sign. $5.607 is what percent of 89? Same setup as the last two. X over 100. Our part is 5.607. Our whole is 89. Not always, but typically the whole number is the bigger of the two numbers. When we start getting deeper into this, that might not always be true, but typically the larger of the two numbers is the whole. Cross multiply. So x times 89 equals 100 times 5.607. After we multiply by 100, move our decimal spot 2 times. That's going to give us 560.7. 89x carries down. To get x by itself, divide by 89. That is going to give us 6.3. Since this is a percent, we should add our percent sign. Does our answer make sense? 5.607 is about 6.3% of 89. That seems reasonable to me. This is the first half of 1.3 part 1. The next video will show the second half of 1.3 part 1.